Okay, welcome. So this presentation, Magnetic Cards 101, is supposed to be a primer or introduction to those who are unfamiliar with magnetic card security. So yeah, let's get right into it. The obligatory Who Am I slide. I'm a NetSec student, like a lot of you guys. I actually did this presentation for class and was told to present it here. In my free time, I like to skate. I'm a NetSec hobbyist. I'm a network admin in the Metro Detroit area. So, cool. A magnetic strip consists of 3 tracks, and the data that's showed here, there's a lot more to it than just this, but this just gives you a general idea of how it's laid out for a mag stripe of that size. Mag strips are magnetic. Who knew? So if you actually dump a mag strip into a bag of black iron oxide, it will stick to the card. And you can see here, you see track 1 and track 2. There's no third track on banking cards usually. And if you look closely, you can see the data manually. In fact, if you take black iron oxide and magnetize it as well, you can take a piece of Scotch tape, put it right on, and lift the card right off. So here is the layout for the data that's encoded on track 1. Originally, the track 1 standards was created by the airline industries for the ticketing system in the 1960s. It's been taken over by the banking industry for the most part. So for this discussion, we're just going to talk about the banking format. So for track 1, we have a start sentinel, which just says, okay, string starts here, and it's a percent sign. B denotes banking. Then we have the primary account number, which is the card number printed on the front. We have a field separator, which just says, hey, this is done, next. And then we have the cardholder's name printed. Another field separator, expiration date. Expiration date can change from year, month, to also month, year. That can be significant when it comes to calculating the CVV, and we'll get into that in a second. After the expiration date, we have service codes. We'll get into that in a second. And then discretionary data, which usually houses the CVV and proprietary data to the card issuer. And then we have the end sentinel, which says, okay, this track is done, and then a long redundancy check. The long redundancy check is essentially like a check digit, like at the end of barcodes, and it's usually parsed invisibly through almost all magstrip readers. But there are programs out there that can see it on a modular level and decode it so you can view it and write to it if you need to. Oh, it's also worth mentioning that the LRC is calculated using the Loon algorithm. So track 2 is essentially the same thing. The only difference is field separators, instead of a caret, it's an equal sign. Start sentinel is a semicolon instead of a percent sign. And after the PAN, there's no name. So here it is all kind of laid out. So we can see percent sign, banking. We know that's track 1. We know this is a banking card. Card holder, name, and then field separation, expiration, service code, so on and so forth. So track 3 is really interesting because it has less bytes per inch than track 2. It's rarely used. It was created by the thrift savings industry. I'm not sure what they really do. But the start sentinel can either be a plus sign or a semicolon. And things that use this is parking gate cards, gift cards, hotel key cards. And back in the day when banks would use this track, for some reason they would encode the PIN on it. Yeah, and it's also worth mentioning that magnetic strip data is also clear text data. So service codes. When I was talking about service codes, every card has one, and it basically denotes where you can use the card and what's on the card. So for the most part, when it comes to financial cards, some gift cards, you usually have a service code of either 101 or 201. So if we look at like 201, it's international, so I can use it wherever, but it also has an integrated circuit card, so it has a chip. Authorization is normal and no restrictions, so I can run it as debit or credit. 101 is the same thing, except it just says, hey, no chip. So CVVs. CVVs are calculated using an algorithm from the PAN, the expiration date, the service code, and then the card issuer uses a pair of DES keys as well to encrypt it. The CVV, there's the one on the back of your card, and then there's the one that's encoded on the mag strip itself. Different CVVs for different batches of cards. So a card issuer makes, I don't know, like 200 cards, for example. They'll typically use the same CVV and then roll over for the next issue. So, defeating chip and pin. For the purpose of this presentation, because we're sticking to just mag strips, there are specific chip attacks, but is there a way to turn it off from the mag stripe? Apparently there is. There was a researcher by the name of Sammy Kamkar who was able to figure out that if you use an old CVV from, let's say, a lost or stolen card, put it onto a new card, and then just update your LRC, you can change the service code to a 101 and say, okay, yep, no chip on this card, and you could swipe all day with it. Tried it with upgrade cards, the cards that the bank issues for, hey, this is your new chip card, changing the service code, but I didn't have the technology to update the LRC to fully test that. So I'm willing to bet, though, that it would work. So is it even necessary, though, to defeat the chip and pin here in America? Fortunately, not so much. Because as it stands right now, you can still swipe at gas stations, you can still swipe at tons of merchants. They are supposed to force all vendors to switch to chip card by the end of this month or next month, but it's going to be a loosely enforced law, and it's predicted that you're supposed to be able to swipe still for at least another, at least a year. So here I have some examples of just some data strings just to show you guys. We can see here that we have track 1 and track 2 data. We know it's a banking card. And we can see the second one has track 1, track 2, and track 3 data, which is interesting. And then we have the next one being just track 3 data. So what does a card reader even see? Basically, what card readers even see, point-of-sale systems even see, is what they're told to see. For the most part, most point-of-sale systems really only see what's encoded on track 2, but some do see all 3 tracks. Some see it for generated overhead noise for security purposes, but not many, hardly any, to be honest. And some see just track 3, some see just track 2. So here we have a card that has track 2 and track 3 data, and I figured, well, what could I do with that? It's also worth mentioning here that I do have prior knowledge in regards to the format used for gate cards, magnetic strip layout for gate cards, and how those are encoded. It's always track 3 data. The first 3 digits denote the facility code. So for this facility that I was testing out, there was no facility code. It was just one parking lot. And yeah, just kind of guess the last 3 digits. So crappy trump card. Cool. Able to open a parking lot gate. Same trump card. Able to make a purchase. So it didn't see any generated overhead noise from track 3. It didn't see the omission of any data on track 1. It just saw what it wanted to see, which is the track 2 information, which again also doesn't really contain the PAN's name. So that's bad. So that was easy enough. What else is possible?
Have you been wondering what's going on with these credit card hacks recently? Like why every big box store is getting their database hacked? Well, it's not the store's fault. It's the credit cards. They're made with 1960s technology. Don't believe me? Watch me copy a credit card using a cassette tape and a boombox. I'm going to use this $10 Square card reader to copy this card onto another card. All we have to do is open the Square card, plug the Square card into the microphone jack, toss the cassette into the boombox. Click record. Stop the cassette real fast. You're going to cut it here. And you're going to cut it here. And you're about done. Just tape it to the card and take it to a gas station to check it out. Gas station, of course, because, you don't want anybody watching you. Anyways, thanks for watching my video, and don't do this at home.
Or do it, but, so, it's worth mentioning, too, that in the beginning of the video, he said it's not the store's fault, it is the credit card's fault, and he's right, because as soon as you swipe a card through that point-of-sale system, it's usually immediately encrypted. Now, maybe 1% of the time you can find a point-of-sale system that doesn't do that, usually like a really old point-of-sale system, but for the most part, the technologies we're using for credit cards advance while credit cards themselves don't. So, that being said, it's usually kind of hard to grab or steal somebody's magnetic strip info. Usually. So, which brings me to Wayne State. The Wayne State 1 card houses a decent amount of information. A buddy of mine was pretty cool enough to let me use his and take me around campus with it. So it got me thinking, well, it has magstrip data. I know I can access facilities with it. I can go parking with it. I can do a lot with it. So let's take a look at it. So here we have a 1-card breakdown. We have student ID, photo, email, barcode, name, title. Title's interesting, so it will say like, staff or professor or something like that. So you might immediately know right off the bat that that card has more access than yours. And then we have magstripe number. And it thought, well, magstripe number, why would they print that on the front of the card? Magstripe number. Like as in what's encoded on the back of the magstripe itself? And it turns out that that is actually a resounding yes. So here's a list of everything that the 1 card does. You can pay for food, you can park, you can use the gym, you can study at their study lab, you can make copies. There's even stores around Wayne State campus that if you make purchases, you can make purchases with your Wayne State 1 card. Your card is connected to like this account that you can put money into, or your parents put money into. And yeah, so normally when you swipe on Wayne State campus, at their point of sale systems, a picture comes up. Cool, perfect. But off campus at the stores that do accept it, they don't have the same POS systems, and your picture does not come up. So I tried making a video of a replicated Wayne State 1 card, and it's really simple. All I did was just swipe, confirm that the data printed on the front is actually encoded on track 2 on the back, wrote to the back of the card, of a new card, and you know, MS painted my picture over theirs. So I was able to purchase various goods off campus, get into their dorm, but I couldn't show the video without giving away the original card holder's identity, unfortunately. Oh yeah, so minimum amount of you can even put in that card at one time is $15, and the max is $500. Go to a grocery store, do cash back. So what else is there? Store credit cards. Store credit cards are really interesting too. They don't have any CVV. They have generic expiration dates, and we can see here I have an example string with an expiration date of December 49, which is pretty generic. And they're all 101 service codes, so that's pretty bad. And so the applications are limitless. When it comes to the magnet force on the back of a magnetic card, you could see here that he swiped it in the square reader from that one video, and it went to the magnetic tape on a cassette. That's because EM waves travel in waves, just like audio waves. So if you were to take that square reader even, plug it into your phone, for example, swipe, you could record that sound bite and then play it back through an amp. And then instead of speakers coming out of the amp, you have an electromagnet. It'll put out that same frequency. If you hold it up to a point-of-sale reader, it'll say, oh, okay, yeah, that's a swipe. So if you take that data on a modular level, you can even just like increase dat bit by 1, dat bit by 1, and pretty much create a brute force playlist. Talked about the Scotch tape lifts, so on and so forth. And that's about it. So, yeah. Made a Twitter just for this. So if you want to contact me for the slides, feel free to. Any questions? Cool. All right. Thank you very much.